Hey, welcome back to another episode of AZ Update. I'm your host, Anthony Bartolo, and joined today by Sarah Lane. Sarah, how's it going?
I'm good, thanks, Anthony. It's Friday afternoon here in Scotland, and I am soon clocking off. So
We have a full day here in Toronto. Pierre and I are both in Eastern Canada, so unfortunately, we're just starting our day. But it's not unfortunate because we enjoy what we do and we have fun doing things like this, like AZ Update, which is really cool. Sarah, you have an awesome story to share, and I want to get more insight in terms of what's going on with this, and it's partly tied into what we have as our graphic. If you saw our graphic on the YouTube channel today, a lot of people have been inquiring, well, we usually have raccoons. Why is there penguins there? What's going on? Sarah, please share with everybody.
So high school in Scotland, their IT department was doing this cool project that saw the kids develop and implement a coding algorithm that looked at freely available satellite images for new penguin colonies. They found a new penguin colony, so a brand new emperor penguin colony, it's been verified by famous people and naturalists and all that. So I think it's pretty cool that the kids have actually had a real world project to work on, and it's actually been nationally covered. Hopefully they get recognition more internationally as well. But I think it's really awesome to see them getting inspired by technology, and hopefully it'll inspire them to actually go out and follow a career in IT now that they've seen what it can do and how the cool projects can be integrated against nature and IT as well. So yeah, that's something that's pretty cool.
So this is what I love about this story, right? I love the fact that it's kids thinking creatively in terms of what's going on, but it's something that we all can learn from in terms of the adoption of technology. These kids didn't go forth and adopt technology for the sake of adopting technology in terms of what's cool. They were presented with an opportunity, the opportunity of you're taking a live feed that's happening around the world, and see what you can address via that live feed in terms of the technology that's available. So in this case here, it's the monitoring of the groupings of penguins and I'm guessing the new families of penguins that are out there.
Yeah.
And then figuring out, okay, of what technology is available to us, can I go forth and address this opportunity? So I'm guessing in that scenario, they're using custom vision to adopt that enablement of the understanding of where the penguins lie off of the live feed. So that's really cool. And it's kids that are implementing this solution. So if anybody thinks that there's a barrier in terms of, I'm not a professional developer, I'm not, a mathematician to do artificial intelligence, it's something where anybody can take advantage in terms of the tools that are made available to do really interesting things, as long as you're addressing a specific opportunity or problem, as opposed to for the sake of adding technology and rubbing on your project in the hopes that you're going to make money or save money, right?
Yep.
Last but not least with this story, what I love about it is a combination of IT pros and developers. And I've been having this conversation over the last couple weeks. Where is the delineation between what an IT pro is and a developer is? Speaking in a lot of universities of late, they don't see that there is a difference, right? They're all in the aspect of assisting an organization. We've had a couple of conversations of this on our Discord server, and definitely check out our link, or Pierre, if you can share it into the chat room, the link to the Discord server in terms of the conversations that are going on. If you develop in PowerShell and you're an IT pro, are you not a developer, right? Don't be hindered in terms of the solutions that are out there because you think that you fall into one group and you do not have access or you do not have the expertise to do other things. I'm a prime example of that in the amount of projects that I've done. Don't be hindered in terms of you're an IT pro, you belong in a closet, you're monitoring wires and servers and switches and nothing else, right? This whole aspect of cloud and the enablement it brings with us, that it can enable students to go forward and implement solutions like this it's fascinating. And I definitely, Sarah, if you can check into this a little bit more, I'd love to see if we can bring more visibility to what they're doing, and to see if we can even help them. There's a GitHub repo to help them with, bring in Seth Juarez, bring in others in the team. Even from an architectural perspective, I know producer Pierre would love to chomp at the bit to see how where's the data being stored in terms of the recognition of these penguins, and what's being done with this data to ensure its safety, because it's a good story to then share with other organizations that are looking to adopt the technology.
Yep, absolutely. I do definitely want to reach out to the school and see if I can speak to them, because I'd love to find out if they were using Azure technology or if it was AWS, and how we could maybe, if they were using AWS, maybe mirror that exact same solution in Azure and show them, the possibilities and introduce them to that technology as well. So yeah, hopefully I'll be able to get in touch with them, and we'll take it forward from there. So
yeah, definitely let us know. I'd love to see that.
I'm really glad you guys explained that, because I thought I had to migrate to OBS on Linux.
What?
Penguins, Linux, no?
Wow. Okay. Show's gone downhill really quickly. All right. Let's get into the news. First up today, we have the new announcement of the availability of priority counts inside of Microsoft 365. I'm just getting my screen shared here. So we now have the new availability of 2 new specific capabilities, specifically priority account protection and premium mail flow monitoring. We all have in the organization that we support those executives that are the utmost importance that the organization deems important. And because they're deemed important, you have, threat attacks that occur. People trying to gain access to this individual's information, people trying to stop this information from being shared by this individual, on and on and on. So the whole priority account protection allows for a tag within Microsoft 365 to be enabled on the individual's account to then notify the services, specifically Defender, to understand, hey, this account is more likely to be attacked because of the individual that runs this account. Make sure that there is priority in terms of monitoring, in terms of notification when something arises with this account. Same holds true for the premium mail flow monitoring as well. So should an attack occur, or should there be a stoppage in terms of mail flow, in terms of the services that are being utilized, best course of action will always be taken for those accounts that have been tagged in terms of priority, to have make sure that this mail goes out without fail, even if we're suffering or hemorrhaging in terms of the service right now. This account has been deemed important for that enablement to push out that information coming from this individual or from the team, because you can also have a priority account as a group, as a team, being issued out. What I love about this too is all GUI based, using the security protocols and security measurements that are made available. The reporting is such that you can show to other factions within the organization in terms of the attacks that are occurring. You can see here in terms of the priority alerts that are being assigned and tagged to the individual accounts itself. In terms of their importance. And this is something where, in this day and age of us all working from home, becomes even more important to have this delineation in terms of, if this is a priority account, make sure they're monitored appropriately, because the attacks will be tenfold on the specific account. And from a mailing perspective, make sure that this information that's being disseminated from this account gets out there, because it's of a great importance to our organization.
Yep, it sounds good, because I think people adopt Microsoft 365 and think it's just an email server, or at least that's what they used to think. But things like this give you great added value and make it more than just that email server, and can add, extra protection and give you some compliance even potentially within your organization if you didn't already have it. So sounds pretty cool. Right,
and there was a lot of scripting that was done prior to via PowerShell to enable this type of action as well, specifically from the mail sharing piece, not so much from the security piece. The security piece, there was some semblance of a priority assignment that was done to accounts, but it wasn't uniform. There wasn't an easier way to do this. So I love the fact that, again, based on the amount of transformation that we've done over the 8 months, is pretty much 2 years worth of transformation of everybody working from home, and the insights that we're receiving from the audience and from our customers in terms of what needs to change from an IT administrative perspective to ensure that pertinent data gets out there, and those that are of interest are secured out on wherever the venues that they're participating on. Having an easier way to do this, it's such a huge advantage.
Yep, absolutely. Sounds good.
All right, let's continue on. Sarah, you're up next.
Cool. So I want to talk about VNet peering. Now, I actually think this came about last week when I was off on annual leave. So VNet peering within Bastion support, has been able to give you that ability to not only use Bastion for servers within that VNet, but you can now kind of jump across to other VNets that you're peering with and help you reduce the amount of Bastion servers that you need in your environment. Because I think one of the complaints our customers were giving us was that if you had multiple VNets, you had to have different Bastion servers, which added on additional costs, added on additional management. And I know I certainly did that within some lab environments that I set up. If I was using different VNets, even if there was a peering involved, I had to have different Bastion boxes, and it added a wee bit more complexity, and I didn't know which Bastion box I was in and stuff. So the fact that we now can actually support VNet peering within Bastion is really good. It will help reduce people's costs because you can just maybe have one Bastion box within your environment if you have multiple VNets, or you can still have as many Bastion boxes as you want. But I think this is one of the big customer asks that we've had this year. So it's nice to see it in preview features. So hopefully everyone's enjoying using it and having a go with it.
So with the VNet peering now, does that require you to set up multiple Bastion boxes? Is that now a necessity, or?
No, so you can have one Bastion box in one of your VNets, and as long as the peering exists between those VNets, the Bastion box will be able to kind of jump across or tailgate on that connection and then be able to connect into those virtual machines that are in that other VNet. So you could have one, or you could have still Bastion boxes across each VNet, depending on your capabilities, depending on availability, scalability, all those kind of buzzwords. But it's going to reduce those costs for people that don't want multiple ones.
Right, and that's a big thing. Well, it reduces cost and complexity, right? Because I don't have to manage multiple Bastion setups now, right? I can have everybody pointing towards the one and manage that stream accordingly, right? And it's an easier process for the IT professional in terms of the management spec. And then, of course, the benefit of the cost, right? There's reduction of services that are required now with this peering availability on the VNets. And so having the one Bastion means less cost in terms of compute cycles for Azure as well.
Yep. So pretty cool. So
cool. We'll continue on. Next up, Sonia Cuff. So our good friend and colleague brought this to our attention this week. So hats off to her to sharing this with us. Using GitHub for Azure Policy as code. This is a very interesting one in terms of Azure Policy and governance. If you're implementing governance, well, you should be implementing governance in any cloud implementation to ensure that, services are not just created on a whim and expenditures are such that they're astronomically high. What I love about this is the ability now to track in terms of the governance policies that are put forth specifically on Azure policy definitions. They can actually be exported directly into GitHub. So you can actually monitor what changes are occurring based on and what suggestions are being put forth inside of the repo. You can, in essence, you can push a change now to the repo, which would then push back in terms of the policy set if it's accepted by the organization. This gives a free open opportunity for others to contribute in terms of policy definitions made available in respect to the organization that it supports. It's a lot more open as opposed to the days where, us as IT pros, we were told to lock out everybody, and that's what we did, and nobody's provided any insight as to why or how or what's going on. It's just locked out, and then that's where shadow IT occurred, right? Let's face it. People go on the search engines and I want to find out how do I get access to this, and they find a workaround, and it causes bad behavior. The whole enablement that this provides is now this open dialogue. And this is what you're starting to see as a trend now, especially because we're all working from home. We need to do things differently to gain access to information, but the security requirements are still in play, and the governance in terms of the way that people access these resources are still in play. But how do you do this now, especially when we're all not together? We're all together online, but all not in person. I can't just walk down the hallway and ask for access anymore. And people were doing it via email as well, but let's face it, we still have those hallway conversations to get stuff done. In essence, this GitHub enablement is that hallway conversation that can now occur digitally, that is in fair view of everybody in terms of contributing to what the policy definitions are and what should be taken into consideration. The ability to push out changes that are required that people can ratify on and agree upon to enable that capability. It's a big deal. And, I know we were talking about this on the tour when we were doing the tour, how you could do this manually in terms of the capture and export of the policy and then pushing it up to GitHub. Having the ability now to remove that manual step and actually push it directly to GitHub through an export function, and then to import the same way in terms of the changes, and then to monitor the changes that have occurred of the evolution of this policy. It's a big deal in terms of it's a simple automation step that has caused a huge amount of impact and discussion at organizations in terms of its capabilities. That's why it was so important to share this out, because it's where a lot of people will see it as the next reiteration of defining a policy in terms of Azure use. I see it as another way for a bridge to occur between factions or departments within an organization to have open discussion in terms of what definitions have to be made available in terms of use of Azure, so that shadow IT doesn't occur, so that everybody is included and involved in that open discussion to ensure that the best foot forward is done to protect an organization.
Yeah, it sounds actually pretty cool. I used to be someone that didn't go anywhere near GitHub, if I'm honest, because I thought it was a developer tool. But now I'm probably in GitHub at least once a week, if not more. So I definitely want to check this out and see how the functionality actually works, so as we can understand it. But it sounds pretty cool being able to do stuff in there.
And that's the difference that's going on right now in regards to even the tools that we use, right? Would you imagine 5 years ago that we would be using Visual Studio?
No.
Right? And that's the thing. So as an IT pro, I would bring up my PowerShell IDE and I would code away in PowerShell. And now I'm doing it in Visual Studio and it's checking all my syntax for me. And it's a phenomenal tool. But, I still see myself as an IT pro. And maybe it's something that we have to question in terms of what is an IT pro? What is a developer? Are we not all working together? Yes, we have different depths and we have different capabilities and we have different functionality, but we are all at the same day still using the same platform, still using the same tools, just enabling people in different ways. And it's more opportunities for us to collaborate in terms of solutions like discovering, penguin families that haven't been discovered before in scenarios like this, which is really cool. Yeah,
indeed.
Sarah, you're up next.
So I wanted to mention something that sounds pretty cool. So it's the vCPU new SKU, and that's a lot of acronyms and a lot of to get right. But what we've launched is this new SKU that allows you to have a lower CPU but still maintain high memory, high I/O for your disk, and all that kind of goodness, because there's some bits of software that charge you per CPU, and I think we've probably all been stung by the traditional SQL Server that prices by CPU, or even Oracle, I think, is another one that we've all probably been stung by as well. And these workloads sometimes don't need lots of CPU, but they do need lots of memory. They do need lots of fast disk. So now we have these SKUs within Azure that allows you to do that. So again, it's something that hopefully will help customers potentially save some money while still implementing the right workload for their environment. Because the last thing any of us want to do is have to pay more than we need to software licensing. So yeah, there's a new SKU, and there's lots of information about how they collate and how you can actually use them. And I had a look, and they're, I think, pretty much out to all of our regions. I think things like maybe Australia and I think it was Qatar that maybe are coming next year. In Q4, but most regions seem to have support for this new SKU. So sounds like a good one that could potentially be on a lot of people's cost-saving radars as well for the future.
And what's cool about it is that you can attach this into Azure Policy in terms of groups that are spinning up SQL servers, and to have them only have access to the constrained CPU, constrained for, it is a tongue twister, constrained vCPU capable VM sizes, so that they can only create those specific, because if they don't require the CPU processing power, and it's a memory intensive VM that's required, again, why pay the extra? Right, in terms of the services that are not being used. So it's awesome, again, based on the feedback of what's out there. And as you mentioned, for those that are running specific databases in terms of a virtual machine, having that capability and even the ability to govern over who can spin those up, or that's all they can spin up because that's their day-to-day activities. It's an awesome offering that's been made available on the Azure platform. Let's continue on. So next up is the events. But before actually we jump into that, we're going to say a quick hi to those inside of the chat room. We have Paul Jensen. We have hi to Sharon Bennett. We have Richard Hooper. I did see Rabbit Jr. in here. Yes, I did. So Rabbit Jr. is in here as well. Everybody in the chat room, hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. We awesomely watch the chat as it goes on and your discussion on topics. If you're watching this show as a post recording of the show, do join us live and have the open conversation with us inside of the chat room in terms of all the news that we're discussing, because a lot of valid points have been brought forward and we'd like to incorporate that into the news as well, which is really cool. Let's jump ahead now to the events. So first up is the Festive Tech Calendar. I'll just share my screen really quickly. This is something that, Sarah, you're involved in, and it looks like it's an awesome event. Just the amount of participation that's occurring from the community into this is really cool.
Yeah, it's something that Richard and Gregor are running, and this is the second year that they've ran it. And so myself, Pierre, and Thomas are all doing a fun kind of Ask Me Anything.
Yep.
And it literally is an Ask Me Anything. Come with your tech questions, or come with your what is your favorite Christmas movie, or even ask Thomas about his new car, because he'll talk at length about his new car. But yeah, we're having a fun session as part of this event. But I know there's some great sessions lined up from various different people that are both live sessions, recorded sessions, blog posts. There's a whole plethora of stuff happening over December.
Take a drink.
Yeah.
It's okay. Everybody can use that word. Plethora is my favorite word, I know, but it's awesome, Sarah, that you incorporated that. I love this event because it's like you said, this is a community-driven event. There's a lot of participation that's occurring in this event. Yourself, Thomas, and Pierre have the Ask Us Anything session that's coming on. Ask the question, what cat is Adora going to get, right? Like it's the whole availability in terms of the open questions. Obviously, we want to keep it tech related, but it's something where everybody gets together, shares their knowledge, community-driven event. We're participating in an Ask Us Anything in the midst of that event, which is really cool. Something I'm going to check out. I'm going to sit in a couple sessions. And that's the thing, the advantage that we have in this worldwide connection now that we're all participating online allows us to go and participate at a multitude of events that are run around the world. So you're not limited by geo anymore. You can participate anywhere. Next up in terms of events, this actually just occurred, and this is along the lines in regards to the blending of developers and IT pros for the common good of the organization that they support. There was recently the all-around Azure, a beginner's guide to AI that took place that I actually participated in as well. This was actually, what's cool about it was delivered in Asia in Japanese, it was delivered in Europe in French, and then delivered in North America in English. The recording is available in all 3 languages, which is really cool. If you go to itopstalk.com, the latest post that we have for AZ Update has the link, and we've added that based on the feedback that we've received from those in the chat room and those that watch the show off post-recording. So we're now going to incorporate the event. So if you have an event that you want to share with us, let us know, and we'll happily share it on the show and inside of the post itself. So this was a live stream that happened this week, now available as a post-recording that you can check out. Again, don't limit yourself in the fact that you don't think that you're a developer and this, if it's of interest to you, check it out, go through it, have open dialogue about it, discuss it, reach out to any one of us in terms of conversation. It was a really cool initiative to go through because it was an open dialogue over YouTube and other platforms to have the conversation in terms of the adoption of AI-related services like machine learning, custom vision, and so forth. Last but not least, not really an event, but it's an initiative that we wanted to highlight. This is something that Sarah was working on with the product group, the Cloud Adoption Product Group. Sarah, tell us a little about this one.
So I was asked to host a series of videos helping people understand or answer, the questions and obstacles that you might face along your cloud adoption journey, and using the cloud adoption framework to answer some of those questions. So I got the chance to spend some time with the cloud adoption team and interview them and have some fun doing this. So I think there's 13 videos and 9 of them have been released so far, but they cover everything. So So they cover like what is the cloud adoption framework, and then we deep dive into things like the enterprise scale landing zones, and we get more familiar with how you actually use those and why you would use them in your environment. So there's a lot of videos there. So definitely, hopefully there should be something for everybody, but it's a pretty fun project to be involved in.
Yeah, no, it was really cool. And I love the fact that, when you're talking about the solutions that are being adopted, you're using real world examples in regards to the best practices to do so. And I know from the audience perspective, they love that because they love to learn how other people are adopting the technology because they have the similar challenges and understanding the steps to do it is awesome, but understanding how others are bringing that information or bringing those services into their workplace to enable X that other people have similar addressment needs for, it's a huge advantage, right? So it's really cool initiative that you guys have put forth. Last but not least, because we're 5 minutes down, producer Pierre is going to jump in now and talk to us about the Microsoft Learn module of the week. Producer Pierre,
I am.
Take it away. You are.
Oh, just kidding.
Great. And the show goes downhill again.
Hey, you gotta inject a little bit of humor in this time of day, in this time of year, and this time of human malware. And
is 2020 over yet?
Oh, I want to take it in the back of the shed and like.
Yes, we know.
Yeah. Okay, so for the module of the Learn module of the week, there was a lot of talk earlier in the chat room about some of you taking some exams. I saw DP900, I saw a couple of other exams. So we kind of have on the same page here, AZ104, Configure and Manage Virtual Network for Azure Administrator, is the module of the week for you. So this will actually give you a good overview of the content and the knowledge that is required when taking AZ104 exam, specifically for virtual network administrators. So I invite you to go check it out and go through it. And as always, you can actually test these things out in the sandbox on Learn, so you don't have to spend your own credits to learn, but you can use ours. So with that being said, back to you.
So quick question for you, Producer Pierre, because I see this initiative as interesting in regards to specifically calling it out as doing this will help you prepare for your exam AZ104. A lot of questions coming in regards to, so if you're telling me that if I go through this learning path, I'll be able to pass my exam. Is that actually the case?
No. Okay. None.
I just want to clarify that, right?
None of the resources online guarantee you a pass. What they do provide is a degree to validate the knowledge that you've already gained, or to identify gaps in your knowledge. So if you're going through it and you get to a specific module or unit within the module that's completely new to you and you've never really understood that part or have covered that, then that kind of brings it to front of mind that this is something that you need to maybe spend a bit more time on it before you get to the exam. None of these are a guarantee. All of these are guides that will cover the general topics that are discussed and measured in the exam. But if anybody tells you take this course and you're guaranteed pass, they're most likely lying, because first of all, the questions changed often. They're taken from a bank of random questions. And I see online a lot of times people that are asking for brain dumps. If this is what you're going to do to pass your exam, then it's probably going to be worth the paper it's written on. Anyway.
So we got 1 minute left. Sarah, if people want to get a hold of you online, how do they do that?
You can find me as TechieLass on Twitter, and my blog is techieLass.com. Yeah, that's me. That's me with a cute unicorn behind my name.
And Producer Pierre, if they want to get a hold of you, sir, how do they get a hold of you?
At Wired Canuck on Twitter, on pretty much everywhere, and itopstalk.com. Oh, and you can always reach us on this Discord server.
And you'll share the Discord server link inside of the chat room?
I already did, but I can do it again.
Perfect. And if you want to get a hold of me for some reason, you can reach me on Twitter at Wireless Life, or of course on Discord as well. Everybody have a great weekend, and we'll see you all next Friday for another episode of AZ Update. Cheers, all.
See ya.